Thanks, Kimberly. President Trump reads the controversial memo about surveillance activities on his own campaign as we await the official call from the president on whether you get to read it. The president rips into Democrats today for inaction on immigration as lawmakers consider a pared-down reform plan and the fight inside and outside the Republican Party for paid family leave. This is Special Report. Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer. It now seems to be a matter of when, not if, President Trump will authorize the release of a currently classified memo about alleged surveillance abuses by the FBI. Exactly which version of the document will be revealed is also a subject of heated argument tonight. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge begins our coverage by telling us where we stand at this hour, and we have to say at this hour because it's been changing.
It has been, Brett. Thank you. After another day of brutal recriminations and a call for the Republican House Intelligence Committee chairman to be removed, the White House signaled the memo's release is imminent.
We're concerned about national security and transparency. We want the public to understand and know what's going on.
The White House said the memo is undergoing a final national security check and the president's sign-off.
It's going to get review from all relevant stakeholders. That includes intelligence folks and folks in the law enforcement community. They'll be advising the president, and he'll make a decision at the appropriate time.
Traveling back from the GOP retreat in West Virginia, a senior White House official said they will tell Congress promptly Friday that the president is, quote, okay with it, and redactions are unlikely. At the same retreat, the Speaker of the House defended the process, and his chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, whose staff authored the memo.
I think they would love nothing more than to play politics and change the subject. Devin Nunes helped shepherd through a reauthorization of 702, which is the foreign terrorist, foreign surveillance law. So he's focusing on keeping our country safe, focus on national security. I think what they're trying to do is just sidetrack us with some political game.
Democrats who drafted their own version came out swinging against Nunes.
The ultimate decision would be made by the president. When the president reads the Democratic memo and it shows that the Republican memo is just flat out false, my guess is that he doesn't authorize its release.
The House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi went further, calling for the chairman's removal. The Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said the California congressman will stop at nothing to undermine the Russia probe, attack our law enforcement as well as intelligence officials, and mislead his House colleagues. The House committee's ranking Democrat, Adam Schiff, accused Republicans of secretly making material changes that under longstanding congressional rules disqualify the memo's release. Schiff said the real goal was undermining the separate special counsel Russia probe.
Because of serious material omissions, is inaccurate and gives a very misleading impression, designed to tar the FBI and tar the Department of Justice.
A government source disputed the characterization, describing the edits as minor, including grammar. At least 2 changes were made at the request of the FBI and Democrats. With the memo's release appearing to be a certainty, committee Republicans tried to tamp down expectations.
I think Republicans sometimes make a mistake of overselling things, but I'm saying this is vital, it's essential for the public to see, and it's certainly important in the body of evidence to be out there.
The FBI's rare public statement warning of the memo's accuracy puts Director Wray at odds with the White House and congressional Republicans. Without getting into the memo today, the FBI Agents Association released a statement thanking Director Wray for standing shoulder to shoulder with agents who put the country's security first. Brad.
Catherine, what are we learning about the special counsel's focus on that Trump Tower meeting and what he wants to get out of that?
Well, after media reports that the special counsel is focused on White House Communications Director Hope Hicks, after allegations she said emails about the 2016 meeting would never get out, the lawyer for Hope Hicks released this statement. As most reporters know, it's not my practice to comment in response to questions from the media, but this warrants a response. She never said that. And the idea that Hope Hicks ever suggested that emails or other documents would be concealed or destroyed is completely false, Brett.
Okay, Catherine, thank you. Just moments ago, we received the former FBI director, James Comey, sent out this doozy of a tweet, quote, all should appreciate the FBI speaking up. I wish more of our leaders would take heart, but take heart. American history shows that in the long run, weasels and liars never hold the field, so long as good people stand up. Not a lot of schools or streets named for Joe McCarthy. More on this with the panel. While the world waits to see that surveillance memo, President Trump brought his 2018 playbook to Republican lawmakers, still perhaps a bit shaken up after yesterday's train accident. And he did it without commenting on the FISA document. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts tells us what happened today from the North Lawn. Good evening, John.
Brett, good evening. You'll remember at the State of the Union address on Tuesday night, President Trump was caught on an open mic telling a Republican member 100% he would release the memo. The president has read the contents of the memo and, we're told, is ready to release it. But the president himself is playing his cards close to his vest.
Mr. President, are you going to release the memo?
Arriving back at the White House from the Republican retreat in West Virginia, President Trump ignored questions about the FISA memo, as he had when he was leaving this morning. The president wanting to keep the focus on his 2018 agenda.
We will be demonstrating that we are very, very serious.
Top of the list, DACA, border security and immigration reform. President Trump blasting Democrats for, quote, doing nothing about DACA. Revealing his offer of a path to citizenship for 1.8 million Dreamers was a test for Democrats.
I wanted to see whether or not they were interested in approving that, because if they don't approve something within that sphere, that means, very simply, that they're not looking to approve it at all.
And in a new twist, President Trump said, by the way, don't call them Dreamers.
Some people call it Dreamers. It's not Dreamers. Don't fall into that trap. We have dreamers in this country, too. We can't forget our dreamers.
Democrats have nothing kind to say about the president's agenda. Nancy Pelosi calling the State of the Union address a, quote, performance devoid of any serious policy ideas. President Trump fired back. Here's a serious idea. How about bonuses for workers from the tax cut?
With these corporations giving tremendous bonuses to everybody that Nancy Pelosi called crumbs. That was that could be like deplorable. Does that make sense? Deplorable and crumbs?
To which the minority leader's office replied, what's deplorable is Republicans' desperate effort to hide the multi-billion-dollar corporate windfalls of the GOP tax scam behind a handful of meager one-time bonuses. And that wasn't the only dust-up between the White House and Democrats. Earlier at the Republican retreat, Vice President Mike Pence took a coal shovel to West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin.
Joe voted no to give working families more of your hard-earned money. Joe voted no on tax cuts for job creators. Joe's just going to keep voting against West Virginia.
Manchin didn't like that one bit, tweeting back, Mike Pence talks a good game as far as bipartisanship, but I met with their team 21 times to make tax cuts larger and permanent for the middle class, not big businesses and millionaires. They decided to be strictly partisan instead of helping the middle class West Virginians. For his part, the president singled out Democrats who sat on their hands at the State of the Union, refusing to applaud even when he noted a historically low unemployment rate for African Americans.
And when I made that statement the other night, there was zero movement from the Democrats, which tells you perhaps they'd rather see us not do well than see our country do great. And that's not good. That's not good.
Fox News is told tonight that a deal on DACA remains elusive and that there may not be anything in place by the time the government runs out of money next Thursday. In fact, legislative text on the president's immigration proposal may not be available until at least February the 9th, which means negotiators are going to start to feel the heat from that looming March 5th deadline to do something to fix DACA. Brett?
You know, John, we're getting word that the president's going to head to Ohio to talk about taxes on Monday. Is there a sense that it's going to be easy to get a continuing resolution by February 8th?
I'm told that there won't be any problem getting a continuing resolution, that the Democrats have no appetite to shut the government down again. What will be difficult is getting a deal on the budget caps, because I'm being told by sources here at the White House that the Democrats are holding fast that there needs to be an agreement on DACA before they'll tackle the budget cap. So a continuing resolution is one thing, a budget deal is quite another, Brett.
Exactly. John Roberts live on the North Lawn. John, thanks. GOP lawmakers are trying to cobble together an immigration plan before the next deadline hits. As John just mentioned, correspondent Peter Ducey is at that GOP retreat in West Virginia tonight. Good evening, Peter.
Good evening, Brett. There's reason to think that Republicans talking about immigration at this retreat have started to delete some provisions that are critical to other Republicans, because there is now talk about an immigration deal that does not address the visa lottery program or chain migration.
I think that if we can solve DACA and border security, that may be the best we can hope for.
But the president told senators here in West Virginia today he wants more. A one-for-one bill that just addresses DACA and the border is not enough. Chain migration and the visa lottery are both pillars that he is asking Congress to write into any immigration bill.
We want people coming in to our country based on merit and based on the fact that they are going to love our country and they respect our people in our country. We don't want visa lottery. Pick a lottery ticket. Pick a lottery. We don't want that. So we want it based on merit.
Many House Republicans are with the president on this issue because he likes what people in their districts like, and the lawmaker tasked with defending the House is forecasting how immigration is going to play in the midterms.
The other side, frankly, would love to have nothing happen and campaign against that. And frankly, I don't want a bad deal. I don't think we should take a bad deal. But we need to hold them accountable for what they do and don't do. If they don't want to come together and get a deal, then there may not be a deal that's had.
Control of the Congress isn't the only thing hanging in the balance, because Congress actually shut down the last time there was a DACA fight. But the Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said today he doesn't think that's going to be an issue again. He thinks Democrats learned their lesson.
I don't think we'll see a threatened government shutdown again over this subject. One of my favorite old Kentucky country sayings is there's no education in the second kick of a mule. And so I think there will be a new level of seriousness here.
That means McConnell thinks that Democrats are going to look the other way and vote to keep the government open next week, even if there is no DACA deal in place, even though that's what a lot of them thought he was promising when they agreed to vote to end the shutdown last time. Brett?
No education in the second kick of a mule. The Senate Majority Leader sounded like Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. Peter, thank you. Investigators are still trying to determine exactly what led to yesterday's train accident that left one person dead. 2 other people in the truck that was on the tracks were seriously hurt. No one in the Republican delegation suffered major injury, although some reported bumps, bruises, sore joints, at least one concussion. You can expect more arrests of illegal immigrants at federal, state, and local courthouses. Immigration authorities are making official a policy that has drawn widespread criticism from pro-immigration advocates. National correspondent William Lajeunesse looks at both sides tonight from Los Angeles.
For every criminal public safety threat that we can't take custody of in the safety and security of a county jail means one of our officers has to knock on a door.
That's why Immigration and Customs Enforcement is doubling down on a policy allowing agents to arrest criminal aliens at the courthouse.
This policy to, when they can, arrest people in courthouses makes sense.
In the past, ICE arrested criminal aliens in jail. It was seamless, safe, and efficient until sanctuary cities banned the practice.
What do we want? ICE out!
Immigrant supporters want the courts off limits, fearing otherwise innocent relatives could also be deported.
We will not stand for actions by ICE that are repressive and that endanger families of our citizens.
But the new ICE directive says agents have no intention of sweeping traffic or city courts for nonviolent offenders.
If you look at the policy, it's pretty specific. The arrest at the courthouse is to go after targets, criminal aliens who are targets. Not victims, not witnesses, not family members.
Another concern, a recent increase in unaccompanied minors crossing the border. Holman blames a recent Ninth Circuit Court ruling that prohibits DHS from holding children for months or even longer until their asylum hearing. The president wants a policy to change that.
It finally ends the horrible and dangerous practice of catch and release.
The Ninth Circuit ruled unaccompanied children are entitled to a bond hearing and must be placed in the least restrictive environment available, usually with a parent or relative, and many never show up in court. Critics say catch and release policies incentivize more illegal immigration. Brett?
William, thank you. U.S. oil production has topped 10 million barrels per day for the first time since 1970. That's according to the Energy Information Administration. This occurs as OPEC nations affirm their commitment to supply cuts in order to stabilize prices. The price of a barrel of crude oil is just under $70, and the nationwide average here in the U.S. for a gallon of gas, $2.60. Stocks were mixed today. The Dow gained 37, the S&P 500 dropped 2, the Nasdaq lost 26. Residents in the Pacific Northwest may soon be paying a lot more in taxes to fight a man-made climate change process, which many people say has never been scientifically proven. As you can imagine, some of those people are fighting that plan. Correspondent Dan Springer fills us in from Seattle tonight.
When it comes to greenhouse gases and their impact on the planet, President Trump has said only that he will pull the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Agreement, which aims to reduce emissions as a way to stop global warming. But West Coast states are driving in the opposite direction, with efforts to tax carbon.
This is both an economic benefit for the state of Washington. It is a job creator. Jobs in the clean energy sector are growing twice as fast as the rest of the economy.
Washington State's Democratic governor wants to tax residents every time they fill up at the pump, heat their homes, or plug in their electric vehicles. Businesses like Boeing that compete internationally would be exempt. The hit to residents and small businesses, $3.3 billion over 4 years. The money would go to green industries.
You're not just subsidizing clean energy or help to the environment. You're also subsidizing a big expansion in government bureaucracy, which does nothing to help the environment.
British Columbia was the first in North America to tax carbon in 2008. The results mostly good. Emissions are slightly down even as the population and economy grow. But they also cut taxes to make up for higher energy costs. California already has a cap-and-trade program, while Oregon lawmakers consider a similar plan. It's all an attempt to change behavior.
When you have pollution going up into the atmosphere for free, that's a market failure, and a carbon tax corrects for that market failure within the market.
The fate of the carbon tax bills here in the Pacific Northwest is uncertain. Meantime, a similar movement is forming in the Northeast. A bill introduced in Massachusetts would also tax energy use, but residents there would get a rebate at the end of the year. Brett?
Dan Springer in Seattle. Dan, thanks. Up next, a controversial clampdown on free speech about the Holocaust. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 17 in Nashville, as Democratic Mayor Megan Barry says she plans to continue serving in office after revealing an extramarital affair with the former head of her security detail. Sergeant Rob Forrest retired from the Nashville Police Department effective yesterday. Barry calls the affair a mistake, but not a tragedy. Fox 2 in Detroit, as a Lansing area police department publicly apologizes to one of Dr. Larry Nassar's victims for missing an opportunity to pursue criminal charges. One of his patients went to police in Meridian Township in 2004 with a sexual abuse claim. Police dropped the case after Nassar denied it. At least 265 women and girls have said they were assaulted by Nassar going back to the 1990s. And this is a live look at San Francisco from our affiliate Fox 2 out there. One of the big stories there tonight, San Francisco's district attorney says his office will toss out or reduce thousands of criminal convictions for marijuana dating back decades. It's allowed under a 2016 ballot measure legalizing recreational use in California. The DA's office will dismiss nearly 3,000 misdemeanor cases and review nearly 5,000 felony cases for possible action. State lawmakers are considering a bill that would require all California district attorneys to take similar action. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.
You might take something for your heart or joints, but do you take something for your brain? With an ingredient originally found in jellyfish, Prevagen is the #1 selling brain health supplement in drugstores nationwide. Prevagen, the name to remember.
I just found this amazing website called Adore Me. They have tons of bras, PJs, underwear, all from petite to plus. I know your phone's out, so look them up.
Valentine's Day special. Your first set starts at just $14.95 with VIP membership at adoreme.com.
So how's it going?
Well,
we had a vacation early in our marriage that kind of put us in a hole. Go someplace exotic? Yeah, Bermuda.
A hospital in Bermuda.
A hospital in Bermuda. What? What happened? I got a little overconfident on a moped.
Even with insurance, we had to dip into our 401k, so it set us back a little bit.
Sometimes you don't have a choice, but it doesn't mean you can't get back on track. Great.
Yeah, great.
I'd like to go back to Bermuda. I hear it's nice. Yeah, I'd like to see it.
No judgment, just guidance. TD Ameritrade. Since everything's included at Beaches Negril in Jamaica, you can do all the things you love with the ones you love. Because the best thing you can give your family on vacation is you.
Right, my generation. Yeah, we're all about a good time. Yeah, we're all about a good life. You won't believe until you see. This is gonna be a fun ride. Yeah, we're all about
Beaches All-Inclusive Resorts, where you can feel like family again. Call 1-800-BEACHES and save up to 65%.
Candace, 2 minutes. Too late for lunch.
Stockers, save the day.
Sweet and spicy tuna in a pouch. Smart choice, Charlie.
No drain, no pain, just tear, eat,
and go.
Try our new Tuna Creations bold flavors.
You guys don't happen to know a good handyman, do you?
Maybe
Outstanding. Could you possibly do a background check on them?
Also, get a bunch of quotes.
Then book an appointment for, say, Tuesday?
You can't expect your neighbors to do everything Home Advisor can. So to find and book a top-rated home pro for free, just ask Home Advisor.
The president's immigration message.
Americans are dreamers too.
But are Democrats even listening? Laura breaks down the ongoing fight tonight.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. Many people with Medicare may be able to get extra benefits and don't even know they're available. You may be able to get dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage included in your plan. The Medicare Coverage Helpline is accepting calls to see if you're eligible to enroll now. You may be able to get extra benefits including dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Buchwald. Making sure you go to the doctor and taking all your medications as prescribed can help protect your health. To make it easier, you may now be able to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that includes coverage for dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Help protect your health by choosing the right plan for you and get all the benefits you deserve.
Call to see if you may be able to get extra benefits including dental, vision, and prescription coverage. Don't delay. Call to see if you're eligible to enroll and may be able to get extra benefits now. Call 800-347-1600. That's 800-347-1600.
The U.S. is accusing Syria of producing and using what it calls new kinds of weapons to deliver deadly chemicals. Administration officials tell the Associated Press President Trump has not ruled out additional military action to deter attacks or punish Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad. Syria and Russia both claim reports implicating the Damascus regime in chemical attacks are false. It may soon be illegal for people in Poland to make accusations against others about the Holocaust. The pending legislation is already drawing harsh criticism from Israel and the U.S. Correspondent David Lee Miller examines the issue tonight from our Middle East newsroom.
Poland's Senate overwhelmingly passed a bill making it illegal to say the country or its people had any complicity in the Holocaust. Poland's president, who supports the legislation, is likely to sign it into law. Violators can be sentenced up to 3 years in prison. Reaction here in Israel is outrage.
Dozens of my family members died on the territory of Poland with the aid of Poles. So now writing such bill is an insult to the memory of the dead.
3 million Polish Jews died during the war. The U.S. State Department cautioned the Polish government about the bill, and on the eve of the vote issued a statement that said, in part, "We encourage Poland to reevaluate the legislation in light of its potential impact on the principle of free speech and on our ability to be effective partners." Poles who support the bill, proposed by Poland's Conservative Law and Justice Party, say there was no such thing as Polish death camps, but rather camps that were built and operated by German Nazis on Polish soil.
We are very sad and surprised. Our fight for the truth, for the dignity of Poles, is perceived and interpreted this way.
The bill makes an exception for artistic or academic work regarding the Holocaust. But the senior historian at Israel's Holocaust Museum says the subject is best dealt with through education, not legislation.
They're trying to rewrite the narrative and not deal with the difficult subject of cases where people who were victims also became perpetrators or at least accomplices to crimes.
Some Israelis are calling on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to recall the country's ambassador to Poland in protest over the Holocaust legislation. Brett?
David Lee Miller, thank you. We are just 8 days from the start of the Winter Olympics in South Korea. Some big movement today on two fronts. Russia may be getting some of its banned athletes back, and North Korea sends more of its athletes across one of the world's most heavily protected borders. Senior Foreign Affairs correspondent Greg Palcott has our story.
Olympic diplomacy on the Korean Peninsula. North Korean athletes arriving in South Korea ahead of next week's Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang. Skiers, skaters, and others from the north participating with those from the south. Along with joint cultural events, the aim is to improve tense relations between the two countries.
The opening ceremony will not only stage the traditional, but also the modern culture of South Korea, as well as performances integrating both cultures.
Still, this snowy peacemaking is hitting bumps. North Korea has already canceled one event north of the DMZ. And there are reports the Kim Jong-un regime will stage a military parade in Pyongyang just before the opening ceremony. It could feature missiles now threatening the U.S. While Washington supports the sport-fueled Korean outreach, it is deploying fresh military hardware nearby.
All options are on the table. And by all options, I think you have to say it has to include military options.
There could be other political thawing. 28 Russian athletes had doping bans reversed and results from the last Winter Olympics reinstated by a sporting tribunal. Still, International Olympic Committee officials say that doesn't necessarily mean they can join other Russian athletes at the Games or that it will restore Russia's tarnished sporting reputation.
Since the Russian Olympic Committee is suspended, Russian athletes can participate in Pyeongchang only on invitation by the IOC.
Joint U.S.-South Korea military exercises are on hold until after the Olympics. Some fear that North Korea might restart some of its dangerous games at that time as well. Brett.
Greg Palcott in London. Greg, thank you. Up next, the fight among Republicans over paid family leave. First, beyond our borders tonight, African leaders have decided against demanding an apology from President Trump over his comparison of some nations to dirty toilets. The president denies saying that, but some in a meeting with him insist he did. The African officials backed off after President Trump sent them a letter pledging his deep respect and saying Secretary of State Rex Tillerson would make an extended visit to the continent in March. The Associated Press says it has confirmed at least 5 previously unreported mass graves filled with Rohingya Muslims being persecuted in Burma. The Burmese government has denied charges of ethnic cleansing. A UN envoy today said Burma's campaign bears the hallmarks of a genocide. More strikes are planned tomorrow at several auto plants in Germany. Thousands of workers walked off their jobs today. They're pressing for a 6% wage increase for almost 4 million workers there. They also want to reduce work weeks to 28 hours for up to 2 years. Just some of the other stories beyond our borders tonight. We'll be right back.
Psst. What? I switched to Geico and got more.
More savings on car insurance?
Uh-huh. And an award-winning mobile app.
Well, it is more.
Oh, there's more. Mobile ID cards, emergency roadside service.
More technology.
I can even add a new driver.
Right from her phone!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Hello, I'm an Idaho potato farmer. You've probably seen me running all over the country in search of our big Idaho potato truck. But not anymore. I'm done with that. Ooh, hot. Just going to stay home on the farm, eat a beautiful Idaho potato, and watch TV with my dog.
The big Idaho potato truck pulled into town today, and it's really a sight to see.
Oh, man. Let's go. You coming, boy?
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned.
Call or go to MyPillow.com. Use the promo code and save over 50% with Mike's 4-pack. You'll get 2 MyPillow premiums and 2 Go Anywhere pillows. It's one of his best offers ever. Order now.
With our 60-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose. Sleep well, America!
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
We saw it in 2001, again in 2008, and we're seeing it again today. But this bubble is potentially the worst I've ever seen.
It's going to be the mother of all crashes.
We have huge asset bubbles everywhere. The warning signs are out there.
You can see it in this chart. You have to hedge now against it.
When will this bubble burst? Call now to receive this free screaming indicator report. This one chart has forecasted every major correction in the past 20 years. Find out what it's saying now.
Gold has been money for 6,000 years, and at no point in history has gold ever been worth zero.
Owning gold and silver is a great way to be prepared.
Call now to get this screaming indicator report, our precious metals investor guide, and get prepared with up to $2,000 in free gold or silver from Lear Capital. Don't wait. The information is free and there's no obligation to purchase. Call 1-800-511-1960. 1-800-511-1960.
A battle may be brewing within the Republican Party over paid family leave. President Trump came out in favor of it in his State of the Union address, but he faces some high-level opposition. Deirdre Bolton of Fox Business Network looks at the practical effects of an expensive new benefit.
I'm thrilled that I get to see her. She has a little personality.
This working mom is one of the first beneficiaries of a new family leave program. She works at New York University. When her daughter was born, she and her husband faced a cash crunch and dipped into their savings so she could stretch her time off from work to almost 4 months. Now, thanks to New York State's new policy, she's not forced to choose between focusing on her daughter or her job, as she was with her firstborn.
I'm actually a little sad because I think back to my son and there are things that I don't remember with him, and with her I feel like I'm really in tune to what her needs are.
Pew Research shows that most Americans favor the concept of national paid family leave. 35% of Americans say it's as important as improving transportation infrastructure and dealing with drug addiction. This summer, Ivanka Trump wrote an open letter in the Wall Street Journal making a case for a national plan, saying it is an investment in America's families. During the State of the Union address this week, the president endorsed a national policy. The U.S. is the only industrialized nation where citizens aren't given paid time off when a family member is deployed on active military service abroad, to care for a close relative with a serious health condition, or to bond with a newly born, adopted, or fostered child. Most conservatives, including House Speaker Paul Ryan, think the free market should determine benefits. They're afraid of creating another entitlement program. New York State's lawmakers think they have found a solution. Their program is funded by residents through a weekly payroll tax that is less than 1%.
If you make $27,000 a year, it's about 65 cents a week. So a small amount of your income is put into this fund, and it'll be there when you need it. Just like disability insurance works, that if you get injured on the job and you need to take that money, it's there.
The New York State law offers 8 weeks off, paid at 50% of the worker's average weekly wage, with a cap of $650 per week. By 2021, New Yorkers will be allowed to take more time and be reimbursed with more money. Brett?
Deirdre, thank you. 2 students were shot this morning inside a middle school classroom west of downtown Los Angeles. A 15-year-old boy hit in the head is still listed in critical but stable condition. A 15-year-old girl struck in the wrist is in fair condition tonight. Police arrested a 12-year-old female student and recovered a gun. The classroom, the workplace, even the church have become much more dangerous in recent years. More and more individuals and groups are taking steps to be prepared for a worst-case scenario, such as a person with a gun intent on causing harm. Tonight, correspondent Brian Yennis looks at the growth industry of active shooter situation training.
Inside the DeCrescenti Beverage Distribution Center in Mechanicville, New York, 50 employees are about to experience what it's like to be in an active shooter situation. The company is one of an increasing number of businesses, schools, and churches, always clear, seeking active shooter training as the number of these shootings has increased over the last 15 years nationwide.
We want them to be prepared, know what to do, and we truly want them to get home safe to their families.
Open door on the right. The Saratoga County Sheriff's Office says the number of trainings they do is up from 1 or 2 a month to 15.
I think we need to get out of this mindset. If it's going to happen, it's when is it going to happen? Am I prepared?
In this drill, they'll use live blank gunfire and mock pipe bombs to make it as real as possible. The drill begins when an officer, acting as the shooter, wounds a salesman outside. He manages to call 911. Police are en route. Hearing gunfire, the distribution center initiates a warehouse lockdown.
Want to mess with my family?
The gunman enters, firing gunshots and throwing pipe bombs, shooting an employee who did not seek cover quickly enough. The first police response arrives on scene, and they go towards the gunshots. As the shooter fires rounds in the warehouse, the police confront him.
Shoot me! Shoot me!
A second police team treats the wounded and begins to evacuate employees locked down in their offices. Employees are taught to run, hide, or as a last resort, fight.
When you see the person coming toward you with a gun, your instinct takes over and you run.
You didn't know where he was going. You didn't know how fast the response was going to be. So it was nerve-wracking.
3 months ago, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions awarded a $5.4 million grant to the Alert Center in Texas, the preeminent active shooter training facility responsible for teaching some 300,000 individuals nationwide how to survive. Brett?
Brian, thank you. We are waiting for the expected release of that surveillance memo. We've been talking about it for days. It is coming out, we think. We'll talk about all the elements of this story with the panel when we come back.
This cybersecurity tip is brought to you by Experian. What are the most common types of identity theft and fraud? Find out the answers after this commercial message.
With 16 years in cybersecurity, I can tell you that criminals are scouring the dark web trying to steal your identity and your personal information.
That's why Experian monitors the dark web globally and alerts you to suspicious activity, so you can act before a criminal can. Go to Experian.com/protect now to see if your personal information is on the dark web with a free one-time dark web scan.
Don't let them steal your identity on the dark web. Protect yourself with a company you can trust.
The most common types of identity theft and fraud include credit card fraud, tax fraud, phone or utilities fraud, bank fraud, and medical records fraud. This cybersecurity tip is brought to you by Experian. Identity protection has a new identity. Log on to foxnews.com/cybersecurity to learn more ways to keep your information online safe.
Wayfair, you got just what I need. It's the feeling of done and done. It's so much fun. Easy as a click, and done comes quick. It can even look crazy. That's fun and done, baby. Get a deal done, or fancy looks fun. Just kick back, relax. With Wayfair, you're done. You know the feeling, yeah, that's the one. It's the feeling of done and done. It's so much fun.
Bring home the feeling at Wayfair.com.
You take care of business. Let Office Depot Office Max take care of you. This week, all Dell PCs are up to 25% off. Save even more when you purchase a Dell monitor. And make sure you protect your investment. Office Depot Office Max. OfficeDepot.com.
Are you hiring great people?
I get more talented people through the door through Indeed than any other job search that I use.
Indeed delivers 6 times more hires than any other job site. Post a job in minutes, and Indeed will help you zero in on just the right candidates. Plus, there are no upfront costs or long-term contracts.
Nothing has ever been this easy, this simple, and this effective.
Right now, start your first job posting with free premium placement. Search for greatness. Indeed, the world's #1 job site.
I was up and down with my weight my entire life.
When diets don't work, it's easy to quit. From a top diet 7 years straight comes the new Rapid Results.
If you see immediate results, you stick with it.
Lose up to 16 pounds in just 4 weeks. With one-on-one support, you'll see change fast. Eat 6 times a day. The secret is what you eat and when. Call 1-800-96-JENNY and start Rapid Results for $16 plus the cost of food and get $70 in free food. Hurry, call now.
Look, you can refinance and pull cash out of your house with absolutely no closing costs. Why are you paying high interest rates for a car loan, credit card, or anything else you can think of? Your house is your bank. Make the cash call at 855-890-CASH.
This memo is really a spin on not just a set of particular documents, but broader classified information than that.
This memo is important to the American people understanding what is going on in the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
I will tell you that it is full of falsehoods, though it is a shoddy and poorly written memo.
It's very significant. I don't want to oversell it, but I'm saying this is vital, it's essential for the public to see, and it's certainly important in the body of evidence to be out there.
It's going to get review from all relevant stakeholders. That includes intelligence folks and folks
folks in the law enforcement community. They'll be advising the president, and he'll make a decision at the appropriate time.
Well, we've covered it. We've talked about it. A lot of people have talked about it. We think it's coming out tomorrow morning, actually. A lot of talk today about edits made before the White House saw it and a back and forth on that. The Intelligence Committee putting out a statement in the majority. Its increasingly strange attempt to thwart publication of the memo. The committee minority is now complaining about minor edits to the memo, including grammatical fixes and 2 edits requested by the FBI and the minority themselves. The vote to release the memo was absolutely procedurally sound and in accordance with the House and committee rules. To suggest otherwise is a bizarre distraction from the abuses detailed in the memo, which the public will hopefully and soon be able to read for themselves. We think that will happen again tomorrow morning. Let's bring in our panel. Steve Hayes, editor-in-chief for the Weekly Standard. Mara Liasson, national political correspondent for National Public Radio. And Molly Hemingway, senior editor at The Federalist. Okay, Steve, where are we on this and where it stands? It seems the story has now, some of it gone to, is the memo going to be all that it's even Republican lawmakers think it's going to be?
Well, I'm not sure at this point that it possibly can be, because so much has been made of it and the buildup has been so great. Having said that, I think there will be significant new information in the memo. I mean, I think that what we learn about the behavior of certain law enforcement, senior federal law enforcement officials, will be troubling to people. Is it enough to change the debate in Washington about Trump and Russia and the FBI and all of this? I don't think it probably is, but I think we'll learn new information. It will trigger another round of finger pointing back and forth, but it'll be nice at least to understand what the claims and counterclaims are in a way that we haven't been as we've debated this for the last couple of weeks.
Here is Speaker Ryan on the whole political distraction argument.
I think they would love nothing more than to play politics and change the subject. Devin Nunes helped Shepard through a reauthorization of 702, which is the foreign terrorist, foreign surveillance law. So he's focusing on keeping our country safe, focus on national security. I think what they're trying to do is just sidetrack us with some political game.
Mara.
Well, that was really interesting today, because he went on to say, let me tell you what this memo is and isn't. The memo is Congress doing oversight of the FBI. What it isn't is an attack on our institutions. It's not an attack on the FBI, the Department of Justice. It's not an attack on Robert Mueller or his investigation. The fact that he even had to say that shows you the kind of unprecedented moment that we're at, which is you've got the president at war, basically feuding with his hand-picked FBI director, his hand-picked deputy attorney general, who both didn't want this memo to come out. They said its omissions led to an inaccurate picture. And that's something we haven't ever seen before.
Molly.
Yeah, it's not surprising that the FBI would be freaking out about this memo coming out. They have expressed a lot of concern. Nobody likes to have their dirty laundry aired, and this reportedly will air some of that dirty laundry. It's a little bit more disconcerting how many other people have sort of joined with them to keep Americans from learning about these abuses that are at the FBI and just learning more information. Adam Schiff did a last-ditch effort to try and fight this memo from being available to the American people. He, of course, fought the subpoenas that led to the information about this. There is a general obstruction there that we've seen from Democrats on the committee, also from the FBI themselves. They spent the entire last year obstructing requests for information. So I think it's wise to temper expectations. It's not going to be a huge deal. At the same time, I think it's the beginning of a long process of figuring out exactly what was going on at this agency and learning more and just bringing it to light.
So what do you make of Comey's tweet? I just put it up earlier in the show. All should appreciate the FBI speaking up. I wish more of our leaders would, but take heart. American history shows that in the long run, weasels and liars never hold the field so long as good people stand up. Not a lot of schools or streets named for Joe McCarthy.
And there will also not be a lot of schools or streets named for James Comey in all likelihood. It's very odd that he would make this reference to McCarthy after Comey himself perpetuated this Russia collusion theory, privately admitting to people in the White House that there was no investigation of Donald Trump, but publicly intimating that there was.
It's kind of interesting to see former FBI director, former CIA director, Brennan, on Twitter, kind of tossing balls in to the public discourse occasionally like this.
Yeah, well, look, they're well within their rights to do that.
Of course, yeah. I'm not saying it's against the law.
Certainly,
I'm just saying
but
it's
you know, I think it's to a certain extent informative. In many ways, I think our colleagues in the mainstream media have shown an incapability of imagining that people like James Comey would be political, people like John Brennan would be political. And for those of us who reported on the various episodes over the last 8 years, from Benghazi to Guantanamo to the Iran deal, it's pretty clear that they were capable of being political. So I think one of the things that will come out of the release of this memo is that we'll see more politics in all likelihood. Now, does that then invalidate the entire investigation into Trump and Russia? I don't think it does. There are many outstanding questions that we don't have answers to right now. I mean, if the FBI played games with FISA applications, does that somehow exculpate Donald Trump Jr. from his meeting at Trump Tower for misleading people about it? I mean, there's still an investigation to be had, even if it's the case that...
To that end, Mara, the New York Times has an article saying, among other things, Mr. Carollo, who was a PR person, is planning to tell Mr. Mueller's special counsel about a previously undisclosed conference call with Mr. Trump and Hope Hicks, the White House communications director. Carollo planned to tell investigators that Ms. Hicks said during the call that emails written by Donald Trump Jr. before the Trump Tower meeting, in which the younger Mr. Trump said he was eager to receive political dirt about Mrs. Clinton from the Russians, quote, will never get out. That left Mr. Carollo with concerns that Ms. Hicks could be contemplating obstructing justice. Hope Hicks' attorney has issued a statement. As most reporters know, it's not my practice to comment in response to questions from the media, but this warrants a response. She never said that, and the idea that Hope Hicks ever suggested that emails or other documents would be concealed or destroyed is completely false.
Yeah.
The zeroing in on the Air Force One meeting about the release, the press release that came out about the Trump Tower.
What's interesting about that is, first of all, those are 4 words. We don't know what the context was. We don't know if she said them, she denies it, or what the purpose of that was. The other thing is, this was a statement that was released to the media. This wasn't a statement that he was giving to the FBI. But what I think is so interesting about this whole debate is it wasn't that long ago that Democrats were saying the FBI was politically biased against Hillary. They were saying there were some FBI agents who leaked to Rudy Giuliani, put pressure on James Comey to release the information about the emails found on Weiner's laptop. Now we've got Republicans doing this. So maybe there's cabals on the left and the right in the FBI, but they're definitely on the hot seat.
Right. I mean, I point to the New York Times story. The Wall Street Journal story is about how McCabe was sitting on Anthony Weiner's, the email found on Anthony Weiner's computer for weeks, maybe to get it